You can try the 6 months, you go on things like this, you will see suddenly you will feel 5 years younger, full of energy, and if you sleep for 4 hours a day, it's more than enough. Well, the choice is yours, whether you want to live or practice death when you're alive. My intention is that you must be alive even when you're dead. If your intention is you want to be dead when you're alive, wrong company.
As a policy, as a philosophy, as a social consciousness, we must understand that eating food in its fresh condition is the best way to eat. But there are extraneous situations in one's lives where you could be in places where such a thing is not possible, then processed food and frozen foods are okay. But on a daily basis, if we are consuming this, we will come to lots of troubles. You know, in the yogic philosophy, always it's like this, if you have to eat a vegetable, it should be plucked today from the plant. Within a few hours, it must be cooked. Once it is cooked, within a maximum of 90 minutes, you must consume. You never eat old food, because all living things, food is a living thing. If it is not living, it wouldn't support us. It is the basis or is the life-making material for us, it's not just another product. Today, many universities are studying this and they are saying constipation and cognition issues are very related. But there have been doctors and certain publications which we've been going about saying this Victorian idea of emptying your bowels on a daily basis is not really necessary. If your bowel movement happens once or twice a week, it is good enough. Well, these are dangerous things to say, it is just that you may not die, but everything will decline in the body if waste material stays in the body for too long. You eating highly processed food, very large percentage of meat in the food, all these things will bring constipation, and today world is suffering from various kinds of psychological derangements, and cognitive decline is a huge challenge in people over 50, 60 years of age. The neuronal regeneration and cognition levels can be greatly enhanced by just changing the way we eat, and the system will not degenerate at the pace at it will, because the regeneration process will be very high if the food has a certain level of sattva or a certain level of aliveness within itself. So once you allow food to stay, especially cooked food, if it remains for a period of time, then it gathers inertia. You may not feel anything, it's just that your sleep quota may improve. That is, you may sleep for more number of hours, and everybody is going about saying that the more you sleep, the more healthy you are. Of course because if you sleep through your life, you may be healthy, but you just may not have a life. Right now it's being recommended, everybody should sleep for minimum 8 hours for health and well-being. 8 hours means it's 1/3 of our life we must sleep to be healthy. This is lot of servicing to be done for any machine. If it's of any good quality, it should not need that much of maintenance. But right now, one important thing is, food is contaminated. When I say contamination, it is not only that it is poisoned by somebody by intent, no, it is contaminated by lacking the necessary nourishment in it, and most of the time the food that people are eating, buying from a supermarket may be a month, 2 months or 3 months old, and even they bring it home and again it stays there. And today there are many studies to show this. Because I'm particularly stressing on the fresh food, because using processed food and food with very high level of inertia within it causes constipation. Not only this, how we consume food also becomes an important aspect. If we do not take necessary attention as to how we address the food that we eat, this also has impact. There are some wonderful studies in some of the United States universities showing this. This is way back probably in mid-80s when they made this study, that different groups of rabbits were fed with very high cholesterol food. They wanted to see if they will develop cardiac problems and stuff. And when they checked them, all of them had developed cardiac issues except one group of rabbits. Then they started studying this group, what was so special about them. Genetically they were the same, in every way they were the same level of activity, but they were not affected. Then they discovered that one person who was feeding to this group of rabbits always spoke to them, whistled at them, talked to them, petted them, and then they gave these carrots or whatever else he gave. And these rabbits were happy. Because they were happy when they were consuming, the cholesterol content in the food did not affect them. So this is something we must know, how we address the food, because there is an intelligence within us which builds this whole body. This body and brains was built from inside. The bread that we consume becomes body and brains, so there is an intelligence like this. To be in touch with that, to address everything from that reflection will make a huge difference. So what kind of food we consume, where we consume, how we are when we consume, all these things have an impact upon food. Today, the nutritional value that is expected out of the food that we consume has gone down significantly, and because we are a market-ruled economy, commercial forces rule us. Because of this, the number of various types of species of plant life that we were consuming has narrowed down to just 12 to 15. Just about 100 years ago, we were consuming anywhere between 200 to 230 species of plant life. Today, most of the population is consuming only 12 to 15 varieties of plant life. This variety is not enough to sustain human life. It's come to a place, everybody has come to the conclusion that without supplements, you cannot really live because food is not good enough. Yes, one part of it is true, food is not good enough, unfortunately. This is because soil is not good enough. And when soil is not good enough, we must understand soil, food, body are three variants of the same thing. They are not different.
After food, the next challenge for the body is sleep. The greatest challenge for a meditator, people don't understand this, the greatest challenge for a meditator or a sadhaka always is to stay alert and awake with eyes closed. Many months I've just lived on that. Just ganji, soaked groundnut, or a coconut in India. Ganji and coconut, done. The day is done, one big glass of ganji and one coconut, day is done, nothing else. So, if you look back on the activity we have performed, it looks like we have lived for 3 lifetimes. Yes, just look at the volume of activity a handful of people have done in the last 30 years. This is because Sanjeevani Ganji. So, people have been telling me, Sadhguru, this is a super product, because many people have experienced this.
Of all the things, a groundnut, you know. I'm particularly passionate about the groundnut because there was a period of my life when I just lived on groundnut and banana, that's all. Because it has everything you need. Just soaked groundnut, one handful, this much of groundnut soaked overnight, one banana, my entire day would go. And perfectly active, more active than most people will ever imagine. It has everything to sustain you.
It's a complete food by itself. If you soak it for over 6 to 8 hours, it takes away certain aspects which are called as pitta. You know what's pitta? Allopathic doctors don't look at it, but the Ayurveda is based on this, Ushna, Shita and Pitta. It takes away the pitta, and taking this soaked groundnut, chewing it well and eating,
just make sure it's not some genetically engineered nonsense, whatever, just make sure it's a more organic thing.
If you want breakfast, you want a recipe. You take a handful of groundnut, soak it in water for 6 to 8 hours. Put it in the mixie. If you want to add some fruit, you add a banana, whatever you like. Banana goes well, you can add any other fruit.
If you want, put some honey into it. 2 minutes. You have excellent breakfast ready. It takes 2 minutes to do it. And if you want it little watery, put more water into it and just drink it up. You want it like porridge, you make it thick and you eat it. You will see easily it'll keep you for 4 to 5 hours and it's highly nutritious.
In India, sesame oil is the most commonly used oil in South India. All the cooking is done in sesame oil. So we don't so much eat sesame on a daily basis because the oil that we use is sesame oil. But in winter times, we will use sesame because it's part of the tradition that everybody must eat sesame seeds in winter time because when it's cold, it generates heat. Now, people who travel with me must have noticed, when I go to Kailash, I'm largely on sesame diet. Roasted sesame I carry in my pocket, so I don't sit for lunch, I don't sit for dinner, I skip so many things. But it doesn't matter simply because you're consuming some amount of sesame and roasted coconut and roasted sesame together. We just chew and eat and it's very high energy, high protein, high energy.